Are you a photographer that's trying to dive into videography? If your answer is yes, then this video is for you.
How's it going, everyone? This is Kevin. Today I want to bring along with me to show you how to start doing video when you're a photographer. So let's jump right into it. So if you're a photographer and you're trying to get into video, I'm going to give you some of the most important tips that I wish I would have learned when I was first starting out without having to figure out on my own, and hopefully it'll help you out to become a videographer as well than just a photographer. So one of the most important things to start off for video is to make sure you have a variable ND filter. One of the main reasons why you want to have a variable ND filter is because you want to keep the videoing into the 180-degree rule. Now, the 180-degree rule means that if you're shooting at 24 frames per second, you want to have your shutter at 1/48 or in 1/50, because most cameras do it that way. If you're doing 60 frames per second, it's 1/20. And if you do 120, well, it's 1/250, because it doesn't do, that. But that's one of the main reasons, especially if you're trying to keep that shallow depth of field. So a lot of people want to try to have that nice shallow depth of field, but then they forget that it's not like photography, because a lot of the times in photo, you can crank up that shutter speed and you're fine, because that's just what it is. It's for freezing time and everything. But when you're doing video, you want to keep that 180-degree rule so it looks more natural, and you're not having, where you don't have that motion blur that you have usually whenever with the videoing, because with photography, you aren't capturing that much motion unless you're doing a long exposure kind of type of shot. But having an ND filter and knowing the 180-degree shutter rule is going to get you on the right path to starting to videoing, because I know it's different than photography. So it's something that really help you out to make sure that you get the best and smoothest video out there. Now, another thing that's very important is having a good microphone. Right now I'm shooting with my lav microphone, but getting a nice cheap little shotgun microphone like the Rode Video Micro is phenomenal when it comes down to having good sound for your video, because you want to make sure it sounds as crispy as possible, because most people can endure a bad quality video with good sound, but not the other way around. So keep that in mind when you're shooting video, and especially if you're going to have people talk and everything, you want to make sure that you have a nice, good, microphone that you can plug into your camera and be ready to go. This one is really cool because it doesn't need external batteries, so you're not really going to be worrying about if the battery is charged or not. And then you can have some crispy audio to make sure you capture everything you need to with quality audio, and your people will enjoy it. And now another thing when it comes down to video, you're going to have to learn to pick a picture profile depending on your camera. For me, the picture profile that I use with my Sony cameras is the S-Log3, because I shoot in 10-bit color, and it allows me to have more dynamic range, as well with being able to color grade the way that I want to. So one of the reasons why I like to use the log profiles when it comes down to the cameras is because you can get more dynamic range when it comes down to your videoing. You want to make sure that you have the most, because it's not like shooting raw photos. You're not able to, toggle everything back and forth as much as possible. And if your camera doesn't shoot 10-bit color, having to shoot in 8-bit color, you get limited with what kind of color depth you can do to color grade as well. So it's something to understand with your camera, which one is best for you, because shooting log, you're able to learn how to shoot a lot more dynamic range and just mess with colors for the future to have a better outcome. But don't be scared to shoot log. It's going to pay off in the long run to just learn and adapt to it, because it's going to give you the best outcome for the long form when it comes down to video, because a lot of people would like to have nice different type of color grades. So if you can get used to it, it's very beneficial. So one of the things that you want to have in camera is figure out what white balance you want to shoot, rather than having an auto white balance, because it won't be that easy to fix in post. If you see, when it comes down to video, it's not the same as shooting raw photos. Unless your camera can shoot raw, then you can kind of figure out the white balance a lot easier later on and everything. But most cameras like this don't have raw capabilities. Maybe Apple ProRes RAW if you have an external recording, but most of the time, nobody really does that. So it's key to really have the white balance inside your camera done right. So that way in post, you can kind of minor adjustments like that, but you're not having to overly adjust it where it can really damage your footage. And the reason why you don't want to shoot an auto white balance, because most of these cameras don't have an auto white balance lock as you're filming. So that's going to be changing throughout your video, and you don't want to have the nice skin tone at first, and then the light changes, and all of a sudden you have a different white balance, and it just kind of looks like a rookie mistake. So something to do that from the first hand hand is to just not let your white balance be chosen by the camera, but figure out what is the correct white balance to leave it throughout. That way it looks more professional, and that way you're stepping ahead of the curve on that end, since you're wanting to dive into more videography from the photography aspect. But those are some of the points that I think are very valuable when it comes down to jumping into videography as a photographer and you've never really done any type of video, especially in the more kind of pro section line. So hopefully this video will help you out to start creating more video and getting into it, because I think it's very beneficial to master videography and photography, because they pair very well together to showcase your work or land more client work that way. So hopefully this video will help you out, and maybe, you know, comment your best idea that could help out somebody else as well, that you wish you would have known or you're learning as well, that helped you out. But with all that said and done, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, share this video with a friend. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.